I'm seeing myself. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry that I can't actually be with you in person, but even hearing your voices as you joined the Zoom, um, it reminded me that I feel like Stargarts Connected is not only my family, or I'm part of you. Uh, of course, Stargarts does that, but also because of Bhavna, and all of you know and love her. Rosie, wonderful, warm addition to this great team. But more than that, I feel like you are all my lucky star because last year, a little over a year ago, I came and spoke to a lot of you. And from that moment, so many things began to happen. And when Bhavna asked if I would come and give an update about the film, I jumped on it. And she said, "Thank you so much." I said, "No, thank you for having me back and including me in this incredible, warm group of family that it feels like you've all become, and I'm grateful to be a part of it." So with that, I'll tell you some of the exciting things that have happened since last year. First, the film was, as Rosie said, originally going to be a theater piece, a musical solo show. And now it's going to be a musical solo film. But when it was conceived as a play, it's a little different. I know theater, and it was kind of nothing is easy in the entertainment world, but putting that together was something I understood. When I realized it was unlikely I was going to be able to do it as a theater piece for a while because smaller theater was not living well in New York. A little re-outbreak of the pandemic, and everything closed down. And I was at that time imagining post theater benefits for our vision community with a remarkable woman who's on this Zoom today, Martha. In the breakout groups, you'll probably get to meet, some of you will be lucky enough to meet Martha Steele, who is my star sister in this project. And with her, the two of us began to dream this as a film. And this plan B actually was better than the plan A because Martha began to realize there are people who are dealing with this worldwide, and just a small group would be able to come and make it to New York and see this off Broadway musical about us. But this way, we could get it out. We could tell the story of five women like me, stories like ours, women at all ages and stages of vision loss, and all people who are heroes in their own stories. So it really became, instead of just an artistic project for me, which frankly at the beginning it was, a chance to mine my own experience and write about something unique, which writers love to find. All of a sudden, it became a mission. Martha and I both, Martha has Usher syndrome, which is quite different than what we with Stargardts have. It's retinitis pigmentosa combined with severe hearing loss and leading very often to deafness. And thankfully, Martha got cochlear implants, which worked. So as her vision was totally closing down, she was able to open up the other sense. Uh, but when Martha shared that these stories had that kind of impact for her, that I know we feel because it's our story, that it allowed her to be represented in a way that showed that there's no impediment that keeps us from being full contributing. And in fact, frankly, I think in so many cases, more remarkable people contributing to this world, because we clearly have not only a unique perspective, which is always value added, but we understand challenge, especially in the case of kids who start having vision loss early. I don't have to tell you, we're forced to be more creative. We can't just uh, use what everybody else has. We have to find ways around. Someone I really got a kick out of, who works in accessibility at Microsoft, said that the word that goes around there for people with Stargardts particularly is, it's not that we think outside the box. Um, we don't see the box. So that is, it's a terrible challenge. There's no way around it. And the women in this film, they are not cockeyed optimists. And it was very important to me that you see them go to the darkest place, but then you see them rise, because that's what we do, right? Um, I can't remember if I shared this last year, but it's at the heart of the film. So forgive me if you've heard it before. And I think you know, it's a story that's fun and worth repeating. Writers always look for a central metaphor. Um, I don't know if you saw The Queen. I think it was The Queen. Um, and there's a stallion. It's a visual metaphor, and it's used, and it's for her. It shows her spirit. Um, for me, the title of the film is Seeing Stars, because we have Stargarts. And I wanted somehow to find something that earned me the title Seeing Stars. And I had this wacky idea when I was first writing it, that there had to be some kind of connection between Stargarts and stars. It just, nature does that. Whatever, the blood vessels in the eye, if you expand them under a telescope, microscope, they look like branches of a tree. There are all these correlations between our body and the out there, the natural, the expanded universe. So I figured there has to be some kind of relationship between something to do with how we see, hopefully, Stargarts and stars. So I reached out to an astronomer at the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. And I told her I was doing the project. And I said to her, "Can you help me find some connection?" And she said, "Well, tell me about Stargardt disease." And I told her how to look at anything right in front of us, we have to look off the side, use our peripheral vision. She got really excited. She said, "I've got it. I got it. I got it." She said, "You probably don't know this, but everybody, if they want to see a star, they have to look a little off the side, because off the side in the peripheral vision, that's where more light receptors are. And then she said, astronomers actually have their own name for that kind of seeing. They call it averted vision, but some astronomers, they even call it averted imagination. That that was like, for me as a writer, performer, a human, a person with Stargard, that was the moment that I knew I knew what I was going to write. I knew it was all going to come together because I I really feel, having met now so many of you, so many of us, that there's something we share besides our early vision loss, or in some cases, not childhood, but 20s, 30s, even 40s. These are our early years, particularly clearly formative. And I always felt somewhere, and I don't know if any of you have experienced, now that I'm in fact an older human, looking back, I felt as a kid that I was an old person, that there was something that I knew that my friends didn't know, that I felt I almost had more in common with my grandparents, my grandmother especially. And I ended up actually writing one of the characters having a relationship with her grandmother, um, as I'd had. This character is from the Dominican Republic. Obviously, I'm not, but the granddaughter grandmother relationship is universal. But so is having some extra kind of challenge in the young years. That's universal too, what happens. So look, what we have, what we've dealt with is not easy. It just, there's no way to code it. And the fears, that the uncertainty, not knowing when, if, or how much it's going to progress, all of these things are, they're not blessing, but they do come with gifts, all of those things, and especially when you're young. And I hope that this film is going to be able to show that, not talk about it, show it through these women's lives. And I also hope that our community will get the kind of attention and support that comes from that attention that, you know, we should have, everyone should have, to be supported and to be the best they can be. I've gotten off track because a lot of what I wanted to do is to give you an update about where the film is, since all of you and Stargard's connected. Bhavna, you're my lucky charms. You're my lucky stars. So the update. So where we were last year at this time, Martha and I had raised a good deal of money. And by the way, Stargard's Connected is now a contributor, which, you know, unnecessary, but we're so grateful. And if any of you are of a mind to, without taking anything away from this wonderful community or anything you're going to do to support it, I think on the website or the YouTube page, there'll be a link. If you want to be a part, if you want to be part of the Seeing Stars family and feel inclined to contribute to making sure that happens, oh, thank you very much in advance. But back to the actuality of the film, Martha and I done a lot of fundraising. We were off to a good start. But was still looking for my creative team, the director, the cinematographer, and everything that comes from that. Since the last meeting, we have a phenomenal director and cinematographer who's been in the business as long in hers in film as long as I've been in mine. So she's pretty seasoned, the age of mastery. I'd rather call that than being older. Um, and she is passionate about the film. She's done features, documentaries, dance films, music videos. She's uh, worked with some very well-known people and others who are doing independent films like this. Uh, and her gifts, her talent, her passion, I mean, I'm grateful. We have a production designer who has been with the theater portion, who has been doing only Broadway shows, massive hits in the last 5 years. And now he's going to bring, and he's also been doing video work and some film, and he's going to bring all of that plus his love for seeing stars and his knowledge of every single line. He's going to be joining us. My stage director, uh, who has been an actress on the other side of the camera as well, will be my coach. We have a production team. The legal portion of that team was central in moving two enormously successful Broadway shows, Hamilton and American Utopia, to Apple Plus in one case, Amazon Prime in the other. So they're ready to do whatever, needs to be done when we get this film going, done, completed. And we have a we have, I won't get into all the weeds of it, but we have the team. And that all came together, the last of it just recently. And the all important thing, a date certain for the filming and the place to do it, both of which are very tricky because you've got to balance your team, everybody's availability. Is it the right time? Do you have enough time left you have to balance? If you wait until every single bit of the budget is complete, you're going to be possibly losing your teams. So if you have critical mass, you start looking, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I've never done this kind of puzzle before, so it's exciting, um, and scary, like everything worth anything. And we got a location. Usually, because of the cost and the kind of requirement for a musical, you have to have soundproof, utterly soundproof. You have to go outside of New York, way into the bowels of Brooklyn, or the hinterlands of Queens, or New Jersey, whoa, New Jersey, bringing trucks and crew and everything else with you, and because it's cost effective. Well, last week, I think, maybe 10 days ago, our line producer, the person who takes care of the detail of everything, called and she found a soundstage. It's in Manhattan, so no need to ship everything out to the hinterlands. And it's half the price of what we had projected, what's usual. And when you have 2 weeks of shooting and it's a daily fee, that's significant. And it's owned not by a corporation, which most of them are, but by a small group of indie filmmakers. And they are very excited about this film. They are willing and happy to work with us. The time that we had projected, which is, I'll tell you the date in a minute, drum roll on that one, they, everything worked. And I live on 10th Street and Broadway in New York. And the soundstage is 18th Street and Broadway. Who, you know, that just felt like an omen and also a really good business happening. So we now have our date. We go into the studio October 6th through the 17th. I just want to tell you that to me, this is way beyond anything I ever imagined. I almost didn't write this piece because I thought it was so um, specific, particular, unusual, to the point where who is going to be interested. I started writing it 20 years ago, wrote a little piece just based on my own experience, left it for 10 years, went back, forth, in between other projects I was doing. And this may turn out to be the biggest, the most meaningful, and the most maybe contributing thing I've ever done. And it's at this point in a long career. So I just want to offer that in as a general story. Forget about the Stargard aspect, but everything is possible if you're willing to just keep at it. And the important thing is to dare to dream it. I really, the longer I live, the more I understand that if there was anything I could share out of this experience, out of having this impediment, this challenge early on, um, a career that, let me tell you, you have to be a little insane to even try and begin a career like this. It's really difficult. But I do believe, and anything you want to make sure you cook a meal for 10 people and you think I can't even see to cut the onion. I mean, Martha is it cooks for 30 people and she doesn't see the onion, but boy, can she see everything. And that's who I believe that's who we are. I mean, I don't know if I'm going over here, but this is the last thing I wanted to share, which is what I wanted to share at the beginning, but I do tend to divert. And thank you for hanging with me through all of this. So, yeah, I've got my metaphor of the way everyone has to look to see a star is the way we have to look at everything. At the end of the film, the writer who's, kind of based on me, who's the major storyteller of the film, who has been sitting in a doctor's office the whole time through one of her twice a year follow-up visits, and who during this period of time begins to see that her long, stable vision might be changing. And through the film, these other women who also have Stargarts and who began as imagination, entertainment from the writer while she waited and invited you to wait with her. All of a sudden, these other women, their stories become stars to guide her into an uncertain future. So at the end of the film, she is about to walk through the doorway of her eye doctor's office to find out, in fact, where she is. And she's frightened, uncertain, but she's also lifted by the stories of her stars. and she sings. We have it now and it's orchestrated, but Zoom doesn't allow more than one sound at a time. So we couldn't play it for you today, but I'll give you the last few words of the end of the film. So she walks in and I can't sing it all. It's for me, it's morning. I don't have it, but I'll give you a little of it. It's just something like, what do I see? Hard to say what you see, harder to say what you don't see. But the hardest thing of all is to choose the way you look at things. And she goes through how everyone has a blind spot. When I look straight ahead at something, it disappears, goes into shadow. So what will I see? What will I really see when I look at me? What if one day all I see is shadow? Will I disappear? And then she goes through musically a little of each character, what they gave her. And then she walks forward to the audience, straight to camera, and says, when you need to see the light in your dark sky, just avert your eye, you'll find a star. But we who need to see both far and near with our averted vision, our averted imagination, we are always seeing stars. Thank you to all you stars out there for listening. And I can't wait to hear your questions. Anything you'd like to ask, except for what is the meaning of life, because I'm working on it, but I don't have that much. Okay.
Thank you so, so much, Ellen. I feel like I want to give you a little round of applause because you're just so amazing to listen to, and especially when you sing, it's just so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so, so much. It was really, really interesting as well. And I just wanted to open up to the room to see if anybody has any questions. Please feel free to unmute and just ask your question, or to ask in the chat, and we'll make sure that your question gets answered.
I just want to say thank you. I tried to react with the applauses here on Zoom. I don't know if people were able to see, but this last part actually got me emotional. Yeah, it really, you pick up, like you made a way of really expressing some of my own feelings. So it really got me emotional in the end. It was beautiful.
That means so much to me. Thank you. You know, if there's anything I wanted to accomplish from this, is to be a channel for all of our voices.
Ellen, you know, you always make me cry.
Yeah.
Oh, just honestly, it is poetry. It is, yeah, no, thank you so much. We're so lucky to have someone like you to be a voice, actually, and you do it beautifully. And we cannot wait for the film. I cannot wait. And we're so happy and we're so glad to be part of it. And so, no, thank you. I just want to say thank you. But yeah, any other questions if we have, or any comments, please do, or if you want to put it in the chat.
This sounds amazing. I'm absolutely speechless.
Yeah, this is what's happened. I think everybody's.
Well, I have a question. I'm speechless, and I have water in my eyes because it really got emotional. But over the process of making, of reflecting on, did you change the relationship with Stargard? How that changed internally yourself and your thoughts, and the perception about your own self, and I don't know, did it change you in any way, and how was it?
That is such a profound and wonderful question. Yeah, it did in an incredibly shocking way in some way. The biggest, I I I I began to see my own self-judgment, like a negative experience I had about seeing myself in a negative way as a disabled person, that I pushed that away, that I couldn't, that I carried self-criticism of being less than, of I carried what I think society does to people who have a different sensory experience or difference of any kind. It was really, and that peeled away very slowly as I was writing. All I can say is at this point in my life now, I am absolutely free of that. I have not a problem going into a store and saying, would you do me a favor? I'm visually impaired or I have a vision issue. Can you see what that says over there? No apology. I realized that to some degree, I hid, especially in my career. If you have anything that is not glamorous, straight and narrow, perfect, it's very easy for you to be dismissed, next. And so that just exacerbated the whole society thing that we get for not being like everybody else, whatever that is. But it really freed me of that. I mean, writing this made me first aware of it. I think first the consciousness, and then you change. You don't even have to try too much. So I don't, if I actually, if there were one thing that I would want for us, for our community, or for anybody who struggles with a different way of sensing, uh, whether it's sensory, whether it's emotional issues, whether it's aging, and the decline and those things. Shame is a very big thing. And I was not aware of how much it operated still in me. I really thought I was comfortable about my vision and being a person who had different vision, but I wasn't. And it was really wild to to become more conscious of that and now free of that. I don't know. That would be I would love to actually hear from anyone if that's something that they've dealt with or they think it like sits like a dark cloud over them in some ways sometimes. Um, but I certainly, and I could pass because my vision is like Marina told me, like between 2200 on a good day to 2400. Um, my brain fills in a lot, and I think that happens when you lose vision at a young age. But that was the biggie for me. Great question.
Thank you for opening and answering. Thank you. It was good. It's amazing to hear you. You can keep talking and talking. It's always good.
I know, that's exactly what I say. On a more practical question for our budding sort of Stargardt actors, what tips would you have? Like if someone wants to go into the acting world, when people are listening today, I'm just thinking if there's any tips that you have or anything that you want to share.
Absolutely. I've spoken since all this started. A young woman who was studying at Tisch, which is a big acting school in New York, which I actually had gone to, and she was a little despairing because she was still losing vision, but she was doing very well. She wasn't telling all of her professors. So what I told her and what I started doing toward the end of the part of my career where I was still auditioning for Lincoln Center and Broadway and all of that stuff. I told her, be out there, be out front. And the characters in the film, the women that I interviewed who became the models for these characters, they all say pretty much the same thing. It's a long, dark, can be a long, dark tunnel. And who are the ones that do the best? She said in her estimation, and I always get these lines, I always forget them, forgive me, but the gist of it is the ones who make it are honest about honest about their vision loss, and the ones who don't quite make it through the long dark tunnel are always trying to hide it. And then she says, but when you're comfortable with yourself, the world is comfortable with you. And that was the advice I gave this young actress or anybody else going into theater or anything. If you're comfortable and you simply say, these are my strengths, this is what I'm great here, I do. I have a vision issue. I'm legally blind, and this is what I will need to do my best work. No apology, just the facts. And that does apply. I would also say, doing any kind of work, obviously, where you don't have time to memorize and you've got to deal with a prompter, that's probably not going to be your best area to go into. But if you're in theater and you're doing the classics, you can go in and audition with a memorized piece. You don't have to wait for Shakespeare to come out with, new sides in the morning. Sides are the script that they give you just before you go on camera that you kind of look at, or it's in the prompter. And no, that's just, you have to be intelligent. Where are you going to be able to go and take the time to prepare? Theater can be good, but you need to be able to find casting directors. And most now, although the tide seems to be turning a little backwards on disability and inclusion, but I think at least in the arts, there's still a respect. Also, there are more and more actors. This is strange. Martha and I've talked about this a lot in general. There's a lot of focus in the media when there are stories about so-called disability. I don't even like to say we have a disability. I don't even like we're differently abled. We have vision issues, but that ain't disabling. I mean, unless we choose to make it so, or other small-minded people do. But there's less focus on vision issues. You notice there are more films. There was Coda, which won an Academy Award for hearing, family with hearing impairment, people who are in wheelchairs, things. People are very frightened about losing their vision. And I think there's a little bit of, it's too terrifying, I think, for a lot of people. And that may be why we don't get the same kind of representation in media. Not quite sure that's it, but I wonder if that's some of it. But I do still think that if we are loud and proud about our abilities, there are very few areas in acting where you can't go or wouldn't probably put your best energy toward going. But if there are any actors or you have friends or family who want to go into it and they want to talk with me, I'm very happy to do that.
Thank you, Ellen. That's golden advice as well. Thank you.
I think that's great advice for everyone, to be honest, to just, be more confident in being yourself. I think it's really great advice. I'm thinking now, shall we say a huge thank you to you, Ellen? That was amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm thinking now if we just have a little 5-minute break and then